Welcome to V2V Podcast Survivor Series. Today we are going to be taking an in-depth look into Diamond Ranch Academy and dissecting what they claim to be as to what we think they are.
We're not just claiming who they are, we're letting Diamond Ranch Academy tell people who they are in their own words. Here we go. Diamond Ranch Academy is a residential treatment center and so-called therapeutic boarding school in Hurricane, Utah. It serves adolescents with, it should be said that the stuff I'm reading here and talking about comes directly from their Wikipedia page. So it's important to understand that, again, this is not advocacy. These are their own words. So they claim to treat various issues, including ADHD, predominantly inattentive ADHD, like, the kids that just don't appear to be listening in class, using what they call real life transition program, which we'll get into later. Because what is that? That's some lingo that really doesn't mean anything. Real life transition program, but it's important to kind of put a pin in that. That includes peer participant judicial system, which uses citations, fines, and an appeal process. And you're familiar with this stuff.
Very.
And there's an emphasis on participants solving, quote, real life problems. And they enroll people between the ages of 12 and 18 plus. It's, I think that girls max out at 18 and boys are 18 and older. So this place was founded in Boise, Idaho in 1999 by a guy named Rob Diaz and later moved to Utah, where it is now outside of the town of Hurricane. And that's really what we're getting into, not necessarily where they were, what they did in the past, because we're focusing on places that are now currently open and operating. And so their motto is healing families one youth at a time. And their education programs are accredited by the Northwest Accreditation Commission. We can also get into what they're about too. It's not necessarily because I'll just pause for a second, because sometimes people hear like, oh, it's an accredited institution. And that may mean less than some people think it means. It's an outside body that says, yes, this school is following particular guidelines that are set out so that kids can actually get an education.
Regardless of the fact that the outside body can also be, made up of the inside body.
It doesn't necessarily mean that the institution is always following those practices, too. And that's another thing that we're going to kind of explore about the education part of this place. So that's kind of who they are, briefly. And we're talking about kids with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But, and this is a fact, Diamond Ranch Academy is not a mental health facility, and they're not licensed or qualified as a mental health facility. So right off the bat, there's a big red flag, because in their own words, they're saying, hey, we can help your kid with this mental disorder, a medical diagnosis. So that should be a big warning. And they also claim to treat drug addiction as well. So it's a really broad scope that they're saying that they will cover. It sounds like something that if it was presented in the right way to a worried parent, they might, say, oh, well, that sounds pretty reasonable. But as we go on, we'll see that really isn't the case. They go on to say, at the treatment center, this is in quotes, this is their language. Students experience a normal, safe, structured high school experience without the negatives of public school. This is a boast on their website. And then according to an admissions counselor named Sean Elsmore, who still works there, and we'll get into his background a little bit too, he claims that 60 to 70% of the students graduate from the academy, and the average stay is between 10 and 12 months long, with less than 5% of those who graduate returning because they have, quote, relapsed. Now, that doesn't sound like a school to me. So far, it sounds like they're holding themselves out to be some kind of drug treatment center. Costs $7,000 a month, and enrollment varies, but typically there are anywhere between 150 and 200 students enrolled at any given time, both girls and boys. There's more information that they want to present about themselves, about their application process. So they say that there are several factors that will help determine if Diamond Ranch Academy is right for you. So what they're doing here, this tactic that they're employing right now is they're trying to show that they're somewhat exclusive, or picky about who might be even qualified to come in. Like, it kind of gives them an allure of something that maybe isn't reachable for.
It also kind of gives the illusion that they have specialists who will sort of figure out what is correct for your child and who know exactly what's right for your child, you know?
In admissions, right, admissions.
Yeah.
It's so important, right? The front door to this place. When we get into who actually is kind of at that front door determining if you're qualified or if DRA is right for your child, you might be surprised. They say the average length is 10 to 12 months. Monthly rates range from $6,000 to $12,500 a month, and is typically private pay, meaning no insurance. Like, they're presenting this idea that this is the best thing going. They even call themselves a premier. It just kind of makes me sick when I say these things, but they call themselves the premier boarding school in America. And then they ask about commitment. Are you able to commit to this? About working together to determine whether these words are so important because these are their words. They say, first we work together to determine whether or not Diamond Ranch Academy is a good fit for your son or daughter. We are very selective in the students we admit to our school in order to ensure that they have a great experience, as well as the best likelihood for success after returning home or going on to college. Right there, it kind of undermines what they claim to be about. So if they're dealing with so-called troubled teens, but they only say they want the ones that they can help, well, how do they determine that, right? Like, and I think the answer, we just touched on it, it's whether or not you can afford $10,000 a month to enroll your kid there. I highly doubt that they're going to turn away someone with those kinds of deep pockets.
Now, do they have any type of scholarship program or sort of thing for, like, underprivileged kids who might want to go there?
They have an asterisk telling people to contact an admissions counselor to discuss payment options. So you can mortgage your house.
Oh yeah.
If you're lucky enough to own a home, you can mortgage your home and be paying off Diamond Ranch Academy for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
If your child's needs are beyond our scope of expertise, which I think is an important word, that expertise, we will refer you to the appropriate professionals. Now, who might that be? I have no idea. Like, they're claiming to be all these things, this comprehensive program, to help these teens who are in distress, parents, distraught over their, I guess, misbehaving kid or kid who isn't listening or whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about teenagers, I really am having a hard time differentiating between normal teenage behavior and the type of kids they're trying to describe here, because if a kid is, quote, that bad, they say they want to send that child to a more qualified professional. So, but they want to let you know that you can feel free to contact us at any time as you go through the website or as you complete the application. We're here to help. The last thing we want to let people know is that Diamond Ranch Academy isn't for everyone. Not everyone who applies is accepted. We only accept students we strongly believe we can help. That is kind of the beginning, the introduction of who these people say they are.
Yes.
The next area that I kind of want to get into briefly, it's the Utah state requirements for residential programs. Now, these are the rules that schools like this and facilities like this are supposed to abide by. There's not a federal standard. Each state makes up their own rules for how schools in their state function. In Utah, it says that residential programs in the state of Utah are required to employ a manager who will oversee the day-to-day resident supervision and facility operations, and a CPR certified staff member must be available at all times. All staff, volunteers, and employees will be screened and given a background prior to working with the residents or within the facility. Okay. Professional staff should include a licensed physician, a licensed psychologist, and a licensed mental health professional, and any unlicensed staff will be supervised by a licensed clinical professional at all times. So if we want to break that down a little bit, what it says, in layman's terms, is that there needs to be, now, when they talk about staff, they mean people that are on site. They mean people that are working there.
Right.
There should be a doctor, a psychologist, and a mental health professional at all times on site. This is for parents who are being sold the idea that sending their kid here is a good idea. What we're doing is using their own information to show anybody who is ever considering sending their kid to this place in particular or one of these facilities in general that it's a really, really bad idea, and that it's not something that you ever want to do. You don't have to speculate about why these aren't good places to send anybody. Like, they're going to do it for us. All residential facilities are required to maintain a minimum ratio of 1 staff to every 4 residents at all times during the daytime. However, night staff may be reduced depending on the size of the facility. Now, and that's because at night, generally speaking, people are sleeping. Staff in residential facilities will have a separate living space from the residents, and all male and female living quarters will be separate and supervised. So if staff lives there, they can't live with the kids. A single bedroom may house up to 4 residents or 2 with disabilities. That's interesting because the disabilities part is pretty broad. Disability can certainly be a mental health issue. All residential facilities and treatment centers in Utah must be up to date on all safety and building health codes. get into meals. They must be approved by a registered dietitian, and all facilities are required to note and accommodate the special nutritional needs or allergies of the resident consumers. These kids are really customers. You know, the parents are customers of this service that's being provided.
It's the product. The parents are the customer.
Oh, well, sure. That may be how things actually operate.
Yeah.
But in the real world, like if I'm a resident somewhere and I'm paying for it through my parents, you know, and you're giving me bad food or food that doesn't meet my nutritional requirements or my dietary requirements, you know, that's a problem. And even the wording, resident consumers, like they're consuming the food. You have to treat people well. Like that's all it's really saying. It goes into, you know, storing hazardous chemicals and medication in a proper way. Only qualified staff will administer, supervise, and record medication dosage and effects, which means medical staff, not just some guy who I don't got a high school diploma or he has a business degree. Like that doesn't count, you know.
Nope.
All curriculum must be approved by the State Office of Education, as well as nationally accredited, and all teachers must be qualified in their area of instruction. So it should operate just as a normal school, a normal public school where people have licenses and degrees and they're qualified to teach in their subject. Each resident will receive an individualized treatment plan upon arrival, and it will be updated as they progress through the program. Monthly schedules will be available to both residents as well as their parents or guardians upon request. Individual treatment plans may include skills development as well as a variety of counseling options, including weekly group, couple, and family counseling sessions. So, you know, just saying that there's going to be some real therapy going on. And the people who are engaging in the therapeutic process, whether that's the parents or the students or both, they have a right to have updates and know, you know, what's going on, access to the records.
Right.
Normal stuff, like that would just as it would occur in any any therapist's office, you know, outside.
Welcome to the V2V Podcast Survivor Series. Diamond Ranch Academy, Part 2, Lawsuits and Trouble.
All right, so this next section involves lawsuits and some specific trouble that Diamond Ranch Academy has faced over the years. And you may begin to see some patterns as I go through this. So get into the idea of what the trouble is with this place. A couple years ago, there was a lawsuit filed against Diamond Ranch Academy alleging that a therapist sexually groomed and assaulted a 16-year-old girl named Hannah Wilkin. She agreed to have her name on the record because she feels that it's important that she be as out front as possible to encourage other students to come forward, and it's pretty brave. So here's what happened. The lawsuit alleges that the incident occurred multiple times in April and May of 2016. So this is fairly recent. The treatment facility caters to troubled teens, according to its website. And according to the court documents, a newly licensed therapist intern assigned to providing counseling services to the 16-year-old victim used his position of power and authority to prey on Hannah Wilkin. Troy Ammon Carter is the name of the therapist. He told her minor details about his own sex life, questioned her about her own sexual history, and made inappropriate comments about her physical appearance. And additionally, the complaint states that he straddled Wilkin and unhooked her bra while providing a back massage in his office without a chiropractic license. That's an important distinction to make, that anybody on the staff who's not authorized and licensed to perform a particular act, like a massage, like you have to be a massage therapist or a chiropractor to legally be able to do something like that. And he knew that. You know, you can't just start groping teenage girls. So Carter would attempt to disparage her parents in an attempt to gain her trust, and started to detail inappropriate dreams he was having about her. The windows of his counseling office were covered with brown butcher paper. Wilkins' attorney, Craig Vernon, said that the therapist used the paper to cover up the windows, to literally cover up the sexual assaults while they were happening. So, you know, if you're in a room, in a locked room or a closed room with windows, and you're a therapist and you're talking to a young lady about issues she might be having, why would you not want someone to see that as happen? So you're going to put paper up on the windows.
I don't. First of all, like, if you're a program manager and you see that a young lady is being taken off to a room to talk to a male therapist, why would you accept that he has his windows taped up? Like,
it's interesting that you would say that, because the very next sentence, her lawyer says, it's very curious to me that would go unnoticed, right? Hey, where's the new therapist guy? You know, the new licensed therapist guy with the, who's counseling the kid, the girl. Oh, he's in his office. Oh, where's his office? Oh, the one with the paper on the window.
The problem is, though, Marcus, in this situation, there's kind of a ranking thing that goes on, where I feel like the therapist is above the unit manager.
There's a reason that happens. It's the fallacy of authority. So basically, the mindset here is that the therapist is like, look, I have a master's degree, and I have a license, and I'm a professional therapist, and I know stuff. I totally outrank you. So the manager, he has no clue regarding what's appropriate, even though he should. Like, he can kind of plead ignorance and also say that, oh, the therapist said so. So there are these power plays that occur because of a particular document or license, even though it's absolutely wrong, even though the manager is actually in charge of the therapist. These are the same ideas that made Hannah Wilkins' lawyer so curious about why that would just be considered normal. Right, so you make a good point.
Yeah, it is a fallacy of authority, because the whole thing is fallacy of authority. The entire thing, top to bottom.
So, as this kind of came down, Rick Carter was terminated in May of 2016 for inappropriate physical contact with another student. Wilkin came forward after, right? He was doing this to other kids and got fired for it, and then Hannah stepped up and said, hey, this happened to me as well. Prior to the alleged incident, DRA required Carter to sign a document pledging he would stop all physical contact with his patients. He had previously been reprimanded for inappropriate contact with multiple male students, and the lawsuit claims that the treatment center provided the perfect environment for victims to be groomed and sexually abused due to inadequate supervision and internal policies. And we're, again, when we get to these people's qualifications, it will be very easy to see why this kind of thing was allowed to go on. So it goes on to say just that the DRA did nothing to protect these vulnerable girls who were isolated and far away from their families. They did nothing at all until it got to the point where they decided they had to fire Troy Carter for continuously fondling and being sexually inappropriate with boys and girls. Washington County Attorney's Office ultimately declined to file charges due to a lack of sufficient evidence. He said, she said kind of situation, because of course, you know, the paper on the windows might have helped that. If you can't see what's going on, it looks like Diamond Ranch got rid of their problem before, because they knew about it. I mean, obviously they had him sign papers.
Right.
So they elected to get rid of him before the heat got too great, where they would become more and more liable the longer this guy was around. It doesn't need to get to this point. Like, parents, if you're listening, this stuff goes on. It's documented. It's not fiction. If you send your kid away to this place, things like this happen. And you may not know about it. It took this guy getting fired for Hannah Wilkin to be able to courage to finally be able to speak up about it, because that guy was no longer around. Oh, the year before, in 2015, a teacher there was arrested for possessing hundreds of images depicting child pornography on a personal cell phone and a computer at the school. So this guy's a piece of work. So
Yep.
Chad Huntsman is his name, and his wife, who also worked at Diamond Ranch, were both terminated following the arrest. In February of, I think February 2017, Huntsman was sentenced to 22 and a half years in federal prison, and the charges against his wife were dismissed due to a lack of intent. They got this guy 22 and a half years in prison. This guy might be teaching your child. He might have been that's horrific. And people might say, well, look, there are bad apples everywhere, and there are bad people everywhere. But here's the major difference. So you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars to send your kid away, far, far away from you, to a private place where you don't know these people. You can't talk to them. You don't know them. You can't drive down the street and talk to your kid's teacher. They don't live in your community. So even though there are bad people all over the place, this is extra bad because they're totally isolated from you, the parent. You have no idea.
I'm kind of speechless. But why did they? What was the thing that they let her go on?
For lack of intent.
What does that mean?
She didn't intend those pictures to be on the phone and the computer. She didn't put them there. And if these were her children and she
have ignored something going on in the house.
Well,
right.
Okay. She could have been a different kind of victim in this case. So there's some other incidents that occurred. May 13, we had the suicide. Kid hung himself in the shower.
Yeah.
And following that, the facility decided to outfit all their showers with collapsible rods.
Right.
So that students could no longer kill themselves in the shower.
It's not like anyone looking into why this person did this. It's simply making it so no one can do it.
It kind of gets to the heart of something here. Again, it's easy to lose sight, I guess, kind of when you get into the weeds like this, that what this place claims to be. Yeah. Therapeutic boarding school. Dealing with mental health. They're dealing with inattentive, depressed kids. They're dealing with, or they're saying they're helping these kinds of things. So look, if a kid kills himself, that happens too, right? Like all these things that we're detailing happen in the real world. But when things like this happen at a place like this, but then to treat the problem by not doing anything beneficial for the children, it's another one of those big, giant red flags. Like, do you really want to send your kid who you think is having this much trouble to a place that doesn't care about, they care more about the look and the appearance of it being a nice place than actually treating the children that are in their care? Like, no way. The best option is to not send your kid away at all and man up and be a parent. You know, if I could throw my 2 cents in. But it really makes you wonder what isn't being discovered and what's going on right now, because that was 2016 when the girl was getting groomed to be sexually assaulted. So it's 2 years later. You know, it's time.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're due for another incident.
That's
and
true.
maybe what we're doing right now is like counter to that incident. Maybe we're the incident. You know, maybe we're like, hey, we got you now. You know, seriously. There are going to be a lot of people listening to this, and
I hope so.
It's really important that all of this information gets out there. And I think I need to take a break.
Thank you for listening to the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy Part 2, Lawsuits and Trouble. Please stay tuned for Part 3, Admissions. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. This is the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy, Part 3, Regulation.
As residential boarding schools.
As residential boarding schools. No, they shouldn't be. They should be considered completely different, you know, but the stories that we constantly hear, as you know, from personal experience, and all of these abuses and mistreatment, it's real. It really happens. It's happening right now. It's happening at this place, the Diamond Ranch Academy. The truth is that Diamond Ranch Academy takes any teenager, regardless of the issues, as long as there's money involved. And the tragedy of all this is they either don't get it or don't care to get it, or have no interest in actually helping anybody, which really seems to be the truth of the matter. So I guess the bottom line with all this is that, you know, we here at V2V will continue to have Diamond Ranch Academy on our radar, or our gut feeling, based on evidence, is that something is very wrong here.
Extremely.
We get into the idea of supervision. What happens is closer to punishment. The lawyer for Diamond Ranch Academy pops up, Stephen Bangerter, and he says that the program uses restraints only when students threaten the safety of themselves or others. Quote, restraints have never been used for purposes as punishment, he said. He goes on to say that Diamond Ranch Academy does not have a notion of punishment. They don't recognize the idea of punishment there, which is kind of strange, because punishment exists. To say that you don't have a notion of it is kind of denying the fact that the concept of punishment is a thing. So it's very tricky lawyerly language here. So basically what he's saying is that whatever we do to the kids, we don't consider it punishment because we don't believe in punishment. So it gives them license to do whatever they want and then not call it punishment.
That's really sick.
It's very tricky. You know, these people are smart. They employ lawyers who who speak for them in this fashion. So he goes on to say that children alleging abuse should have talked to their therapist. They have a right to contact the child abuse hotline, and the kids have plenty of opportunities to complain. Now, that seems odd considering what happened to the 16-year-old girl and her therapist.
Is the hotline on campus? I mean, does that line lead to someone on campus? Are you then complaining to someone on campus? Because I had that experience in Texas.
Really?
So I'm wondering, yeah.
He says they have the right to contact the child abuse hotline. It's too broad. When, where, are they being monitored? The kids have plenty of opportunities to complain. Well, we'll get into kind of what happens when kids complain. They may have the opportunity, but they may pay a pretty heavy price for complaining. So Diamond Ranch Academy's lawyers adamantly deny abuse has ever occurred on the facility. They point out that their program, along with other facilities in Utah, are regulated and inspected regularly, and to some degree, they're right. So how are they right? What does that mean? So in 2005, Utah passed a bill requiring that facilities be licensed by the state. So to keep a license, a facility must be inspected at least once a year to make sure it is abiding by state rules. For example, children ought to see a therapist at least once a week. Restraints and solitary confinement may not be used for punishment, and mail is to be sent and received freely, provided safety requirements are met. That's the heart of the bill.
Right.
So, if we want to take a closer look at that, so they have to be licensed. Diamond Ranch Academy is indeed licensed by the state. And to keep their license, they need to have a regular annual visit by somebody, inspecting something there at the facility every 365 days. So on that day, the inspector shows up and he or she looks around and everything looks great. And that inspector signs off, and it's fantastic. It's a regular annual inspection. So,
okay,
they did it right once a year. But restraints and solitary confinement may not be used for punishment. Well, we just read a statement by their lawyer that they don't believe in the concept of punishment. So,
right,
restraints and solitary confinement may not be used for punishment actually means that restraints and solitary confinement can be used for any reason we see fit.
Correct.
And then mail is to be sent and received freely. I don't know specifically about the mail, provided safety requirements are met. I imagine the state was thinking something along the lines of contraband in the mail, perhaps.
I think that their mail is monitored.
Right. That's kind of what I was about to say. That I think the state didn't mean when they wrote this that incoming and outgoing mail should be monitored. They want to make sure that contraband isn't coming in and out of the place. Or weapons, or things like that. That is kind of the regulatory bit. There's a big announcement on the inspection day, I imagine, that hey, old Joe's going to show up and put out all the fruit bowls. Now we're getting into who runs this place. Who are the people that actually are taking care of the kids? And the first stop at the Diamond Ranch Academy, of course, is intake. The parent got the fancy brochure, they got the phone call, they looked on the internet, They got their money together. They're ready to have a meeting with nice people at intake.
This has been an episode of the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for Part 4, Intake and Admissions. And as always, thanks for watching. This is the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy, Part 4, Admissions Staff.
Now we're getting into, who runs this place? Who are the people that actually are taking care of the kids? And the first stop at the Diamond Ranch Academy, of course, is intake. The parent got the fancy brochure, they got the phone call, they looked on the internet, they got their money together, they're ready to have a meeting with nice people at intake. So what we're going to do here is take a look at these people and who they are and their backgrounds and their work experience, and in some cases, a nice little blurb about who they are. Because in some cases, the staff, they write a little something about past experience or what they're getting out of working at Diamond Ranch. A familiar name appears immediately. Addie Diaz. Now, that's obviously a relation to the owner, Rob Diaz. I don't know if it's a daughter or a spouse, but that's really neither here nor there, but certainly related. She's a member of the intake staff, and Diaz is not a licensed mental health nor medical professional in Utah. She doesn't have that kind of experience, so isn't qualified to determine mental health issues, medical issues. She has no basis for understanding that stuff, zero. But she does have an education. And what Addie Diaz has learned is she has a Bachelor of Science in PE. She's a K through 12 PE coach. So let's get into her work experience. She was the girls soccer assistant coach at Diamond Ranch Academy. She's the girls basketball assistant coach at Diamond Ranch Academy. And she's an administrative assistant at Diamond Ranch Academy. So remember, this is an intake person.
Yes.
This is like the first person that you're going to meet when you want to send your kid here. It's rather unclear about who does specifically what, because a lot of these people have several jobs. Okay, here we go. Angie Kazir. She also works in intake, admission, right? Angie attended 1 year at Dixie College, which is the local community college, and enjoyed participating in general education courses while there. As soon as possible, I enrolled in cosmetology school at Heritage Hair Academy, Hairitage Hair Academy, Heritage Hair Academy. I've always had a love for hair and creativity. I graduated from cosmetology school after completing the 2,000 required hours. I've continued my education with advanced haircutting courses and advanced hair coloring courses, and she is also CPR certified and first aid certified. Angie Kazir, and she has some work experience too. She is a certified lifeguard. She's a home salon owner. You know what? That's interesting. Home salons, like haircutting at home, is generally speaking, without a license to do that there, illegal. That's not good.
Wow.
In most cases, I mean, cosmetology is really highly regulated. I mean, it's like medical standards.
Yeah.
For haircutting stuff, because you're dealing with human body and potential bodily fluids and things like that. Anyway, she's been a home salon owner for 13 years, and I wonder if she's got all her ducks in a row there. She's also a hairdresser at United Hairlines. Apparently she makes custom jewelry at the Tom Design Shop. And last but not least, Angie Kazir. She's an admissions counselor at Diamond Ranch Academy. You call yourself a counselor, it means something, you know? She's not an admissions assistant. She's not an admissions clerk. She's calling herself, and the school is calling her, an admissions counselor. So what that tells me is that when dear old Angie shows up with a distressed parent, perhaps, and maybe an obnoxious kid, I don't know what's going on, but when Angie shows up, she has the air of authority and professionalism because she is called an admissions counselor. Now, that's something that people take notice of. Oh, counselor. So that's worrisome.
Indeed.
It's troubling because although I'm sure she's a fine hairdresser, I see nothing in her background that has anything at all to do with working with at-risk youth or counseling or admissions. Zero. It's appropriate to take a light tone here because it's so serious.
Yeah.
These are real people taking care of maybe, if you're listening, parent of Diamond Ranch Academy child, taking care of your kid, or potential parent thinking about Diamond Ranch Academy, potentially your kid. If they were presenting the truth, I guess they are presenting the truth. So it's a matter of, you have to kind of dig into this. I did a fair amount of research to find this information out, which is all public, by the way.
Yeah.
But again, the parent who's in some kind of need of relief, appropriate relief, or a situation that they don't know how to handle, this isn't the solution with unexperienced people. So
no.
Let's move on. So next we have a gentleman by the name of Danny Burchard. And Danny is not a licensed medical health nor medical professional in Utah. This is also admissions or intake.
Okay.
They call it admissions. His education, he has a Bachelor of Science degree in business management from Western Governors University. He has an Associate's of Science at Dixie State College, certified Red Cross instructor, and also something called a certified motive trainer. I never heard that term. I don't know what a motive trainer is. But apparently he's a certified motive trainer. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
I didn't get a chance to look that up, but perhaps I'll see if there's any information about what that might be. He also has some work experience. He was a communication systems analyst for the state of Florida, a vocational coordinator with reemployment services. These are the two jobs he had before Diamond Ranch Academy. And then he moved to O&A staff at Diamond Ranch Academy. Uh-oh. You know what that is?
No.
Observation and assessment. So, this is important because he is watching the new people when they come in. He's observing and assessing new students. It's called O&A now. It's a 2-week period that Diamond Ranch Academy used to refer as being homeless.
Right.
It's a really important job. It's a really important thing to be doing when you're bringing a kid into a new thing, a new environment, and you're the one who's supposed to be helping and guiding them through a particular process. He's in no way qualified to do anything of that nature at all. So that was his first job too. And then he became what's called head staff. And then he got promoted to assistant program director. And now he is a program director at Lava Falls, which I believe is the older boys section. So he moved up the ranks. He's running the older boys section of the school.
Wow.
Without any clear qualification to be able to do that. It's at times like this, as we're going through this, to remember all that boring stuff that we went through earlier about what the requirements are for facilities like this and the professional requirements, certifications and licenses. And so far, these are the frontline staff who have zero, they just don't have anything to do with this field. And it's very troubling.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have Megan Hanks. Megan Hanks is a teacher. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Brigham Young. She is a certified teacher, and she's a tennis coach, and she's a private tutor, and she was a middle/high school and private tutor for 17 years. So they do have a real teacher. It makes you wonder. Now, this isn't anything negative necessarily, but it makes you wonder why Megan Hanks decided to start working here as opposed to working at a regular high school or a private tutor. She was a private tutor for 8 years and a teacher for 17. So it just, not anything bad, but it just makes you wonder, like, what's going on there? They're paying her a lot of money, perhaps. Could be. Then we have Nicole Manikai. Nicole has an Associate's of Science from Dixie State College. She has a high school diploma from Laurel High School, and she is CPR and first aid certified. It doesn't say what her degree is in. I think it's just kind of probably a general education degree. That's usually what an associate's gets you. Nicole has worked on and off at Diamond Ranch for 10 years.
Wow.
That's interesting, that on and off part. I took notice of that. Apparently she's coming and going.
Well, maybe she had a kid, though. You never know.
Could be, right. So she was work staff, kind of an entry-level staff member, and then she became a staff supervisor. And now she is an assistant. Now she's an assistant program director, which is, she's moving up the ladder too. The whole idea of program director, it sounds really important to me. If you're going to call yourself that, or that's like the title that you've earned, I would think, would have the title of something like program director would be pretty well qualified in whatever program they were directing.
Particularly in a multi-million-dollar business, or school, in itself. It's making millions of dollars a year. You would think that this person would be, like a Harvard graduate or like a doctor or something,
Right. Yeah. I mean, or at least like some kind of clinical professional or some social worker, something with
something.
You went to school for some time, or you have some like thorough education in your field. This next one is something else. So Rhonda Hafen. So her education is listed as CPR and first aid certified. Apparently she has no education other than that. I don't know why you wouldn't include your education other people have. Rhonda's work experience is really interesting considering her seeming lack of education. Her work experience is listed as an HR director,
Wow.
a vet technician. I don't get it. How can you be a vet tech or a human resources director when the only education you have is that you're CPR and first aid certified? So Rhonda has owned many businesses, from a silk shop to a candy shop. Rhonda also enjoys working part-time at a veterinary hospital as a vet technician. She enjoys pet sitting for people with pets that need extra help with meds or IV fluids. That's disturbing.
Extremely.
But the part about enjoying pet sitting for people with pets that need extra help with meds or IV fluids, is she shooting up dogs? Because that's not okay. You can't be like giving out meds to the... Where is she getting this medication from? The Valium that you give your dog is the same stuff that you take. The morphine that it's the same stuff.
I mean, we don't know exactly what she's doing. She might be doing IVs, and I think that a doctor can write off for that, can't they? To a vet.
It just seems weird. It just seems weird to me. Even if it's not exactly like illegal, the whole sentence, I enjoy pet sitting for people with pets that need extra help with meds or IV fluids. It doesn't sound like pet sitting. That sounds like medical care. And as far as I know, to give medical care to an animal, you need to be a vet. You need to be a doctor.
Right.
You can't just like, hey, no, I work part-time at the vet's office.
I know a lot about this stuff because I see it all the time at the vet's office that I work at. So I might be a good fit for your... Anyway, enough. Yeah, keep going.
So Rhonda continues. She makes some comments about Diamond Ranch Academy. And she says, there are two reasons I work for Diamond Ranch Academy. One is that I know the owners personally and have known them for 30 years. Okay? So she goes way back. She doesn't need any education because she's in the inner circle, so to speak. She's known the Diaz family for 30 years. I love Diamond Ranch Academy's approach to life as far as having the look and feel of a high school, yet have all of the therapy that's needed, like a residential treatment center, there every day. That makes us special. And I don't even know what this lead is. I think she's also an admission. Okay, so we have another Diaz family member. Riley. She's the weekend director. But Riley does not have a medical license, or is she a licensed mental health professional. She's the weekend director, no education, no nothing.
Wow.
Then we have Sean Elsmore. He comes up later. So Sean is not a licensed educator in Utah. He is an academic para-pro. That's his title. I think that means an academic paraprofessional, or a teacher's aide. So he graduated from Centennial High School in 2004. Went to the Community College of Southern Nevada, and he went to Dixie State University, and he went to Western Governors University. Didn't get any degrees. Sean Elsmore was going to 2 different universities at the same time. He was working this whole time, too, at Diamond Ranch Academy. Okay, so he was a customer service rep at U-Haul. It looks like he was there for about a year, and then he started working at Diamond Ranch Academy in February 2007. He's an admissions counselor from 2011 to the present. But again, he's just another one of those cases, like, he doesn't have any background whatsoever in being the kind of person you want to be an admissions counselor at a school. So, okay. Coming to the end of admissions, these are all admissions people. So then we have a guy named Troy Spray. He's titled a Parent Communication Director. So I guess this is the guy that does all the talking with the moms and the dads.
Right.
So Troy Spray is not a licensed mental health nor medical professional in Utah. He graduated from Diamond High in 1991. He took computer information science at American River College in Sacramento, California. Looks like he just took courses there. His work experience is that he looks like he was a certified mortgage broker. Then he became the head development staff at Diamond Ranch Academy. Then became staff supervisor. And now he's an assistant campus director. So he's up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all of the admissions staff. And now we get into the doctorate or master's level therapists. What's interesting about their staff and is that it looks like they moved around a lot from facility to facility.
This has been the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for Part 5, Clinical Staff. And as always, thanks for watching. Welcome to the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy with Marcus Parrish and Alexei Lindes, Parts 5 through 8.
And now we get into doctorate or master's level therapists. What's interesting about their staff, I think they moved around a lot from facility to facility. Ephraim Hanks, he's the clinical director. He's been a social worker since 2008, and he's been a marriage and family therapist since 2010. But as we talk about these therapists, people should remember very clearly that it was in this group of people that the sexual abuse occurred. The sexual abuse occurred among teacher, child porn, and the sexual grooming and abuse was done by a member of the therapy staff. So I want to be clear that even though I'm noting that these people have the right clinical backgrounds, educational backgrounds, so do these other folks, the ones who were the predators. An important thing to remember because
Absolutely.
the culture of this place attracts a certain type of person. So we should be very leery of the therapeutic staff, and I would encourage parents who have their kids there to take a good look at who is actually treating your kids, and you should do that in any case, like with any therapist. You should always do a thorough background check on any kind of position of trust that you're going to put, especially your child into with an adult. You should do a thorough background check, and if there's any hesitation, that makes you feel odd, then you should run fast away from that person.
Absolutely.
Now we spoke about this guy Cade Matthews. Apparently, this guy was a staff member at another school, the Heritage Schools, which is the next investigation that we're going to do. He's a clinical social worker now. He started off as a support staff at Heritage School. Then he became a therapist at Wasatch Mental Health, and now he's the assistant clinical director and therapist at Diamond Ranch Academy.
Wow.
So, yeah.
He's made a career of this industry.
Indeed. We have Meyer Jepson. Meyer completed a Bachelor of Science in Psychology from the University of Utah, master's degrees in Science Education and Mental Health Counseling from the University of Miami, Florida. He He has a PhD in clinical psychology from Brigham Young. His work experience is interesting to note. I think I wrote it down for a reason. He says that Meyer Jepson focused his clinical experience on at-risk adolescents and adults, addiction, and forensic populations. He has conducted psychological assessments and individual and group therapy in hospitals, adolescent programs, and the corrections department in Florida and Utah. Prior to joining the Entrada Young Adult Program, Meyer worked as a primary therapist at the Second Nature Unitas Adolescence Program. So I don't know what those are, but he's that example of one of these guys who seems to have moved around a lot, and
Right.
and that should be a concern. Maybe not a big concern, but definitely something that you should always look into. If you're looking at a therapist who has gone from state to state, or from facility or program or office to office, there might be something wrong. You know, because most doctors and most therapists and social workers stay in one place, like, really almost their entire career, and, you know, just become...
Yeah, but they could have something wrong too. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes also when a person will go from state to state and become licensed in a different state, they may not be eligible to be licensed in another state, or something may have happened where they lost licensure somewhere else, so they can come and go and yeah. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but
no.
You know, it might be the case.
But with Diamond Ranch Academy, you never know. I mean, clearly, because we're sort of in that zone now where this next offense is going to happen. You know, and it would be nice to get, you know, some type of legislation to get something done.
Absolutely. So we have Kevin O'Keefe, and he is also a licensed clinical psychologist. He has extensive experience in various settings, including hospitals, prison systems, a university counseling center, wilderness therapy, and private practice. It says Dr. O'Keefe is a well-rounded clinician. But again, it's just like, that's too many places, man. Hospitals, prisons, university counseling center, wilderness therapy, private practice. Like, what is going on with this guy? Why can't he stay put? So we have Jake Roberts, who's a nurse. He's a real nurse. And he's a real nurse. So there we go. We have a nurse. That's cool. Jerome Eason. He works in substance abuse. And he is a licensed substance abuse disorder counselor in Utah. He's been licensed since December 2014. He got his Master's of Science at Grand Canyon University. Some schools are better than others, you know. His work experience is interesting too. So he was a supervisor at a residential treatment facility. He was a probation officer. He was an athletic director. And now he's a program director and counselor at Diamond Ranch. What's interesting about this is that he is a program director and a counselor, but remember the other program directors had really meager educational backgrounds. See, there's that weird blurring where these other people who are much less educated or qualified are at his same level. They may be his boss.
Sure.
This is the kind of thing that young lady's lawyer was concerned about. About why wouldn't you take notice of papered up window? Maybe because the program director is the counselor's boss and doesn't want to know, or doesn't care to know, or maybe knows. You know, maybe he knows and doesn't care. So then we have a lady named Jill Call, and she is a real marriage and family counselor. Nothing really exciting there. Although her work experience, again, comes into question here because she's staff at Outback Therapeutic Expeditions in Lehi, Utah. So she started off at a wilderness school as staff, and then she became a primary therapist at Logan River.
Right.
And then she was an outpatient therapist at Alliant Counseling and Education in St. George. And then she became a therapist in private practice in St. George, Utah. But now she is working at Diamond Ranch. Another one of those cases where there's too much background. All right. So then we have Brent Holm, who's a therapist. He's a licensed clinical social worker in Utah. He's been licensed since April of 2015. He's a youth counselor at a residential treatment program, therapist and substance abuse counselor at the community health department, and now he's a therapist at Diamond Ranch. Jared Jensen, he's a therapist, and he was a primary therapist at Second Nature Entrada Therapeutic Wilderness Program. He was a therapist at a place called Discovery House. He's a therapist at Wasatch Family Therapy. Another wilderness camp guy. Cassie Robinson, therapist. Cassie Robinson's an interesting case. She was licensed in September of 2017, but she's been working at Diamond Ranch Academy as a therapist since 2013. She was illegitimate for a number of years. She got her master's of counseling in marriage and family and child therapy at the University of Phoenix. That lady should not have been working there for that long as a therapist. Stuart Squires. He has his master's in social work from Brigham Young University. He worked as a therapist at Sunhawk Academy. He worked as a therapist at New Haven, and now he works as a therapist at DRA. So he's been around a little bit.
Yeah, and New Haven is a horrendous place. We'll get to that at some point, I'm sure.
Sure.
You can almost see patterns, yeah, I'm sure.
Right. So then we have a lady named Pabla Thompson. She is she's a therapist. Her education is general education, LDS Business College, Salt Lake City, Utah. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Social Work, and she has a Master's of Social Work from Brigham Young. Social work intern at McKay-D Hospital in the psychiatric unit. Master's of Social Work intern at Wasatch Mental Health. Development counselor intern at Deseret Industries. And now she's a therapist at Diamond Ranch Academy. Jonathan Parker, who's a therapist and equine therapist. He got his master's at the University of Hawaii. The thing about equine therapy is you need to be licensed as an equine therapist. According to the DRA website, all their equine therapists are licensed, and he does not appear to be. So he's missing something. He is missing something. And let's see, then we have Brent Black, marriage and family therapy, a master's degree. Shannon Callahan has a master's in social work, substance abuse therapist, intern at Therapia Addiction Healing Center, and now she's a therapist at DRA. Josh Larson, he also has his master's of clinical mental health counseling from the University of Phoenix. His work experience includes primary counselor, substance abuse counselor at Sunhawk Adolescent Recovery Center, substance abuse counselor at Diamond Ranch, program director, substance abuse counselor at Colonial Management Group, therapist assistant, Evoke, Second Nature, Entrada Therapeutic Wilderness Program, substance abuse counselor, Red Rock Canyon School, primary therapist, Lava Heights Academy, primary therapist, Eagle Ranch Academy. This guy's been around. Wow.
Big time. Big time programmy.
Definitely. We have Sage Callahan, Boise State University, social worker. He was a hospice social worker, tender care home and health and hospice. So he worked with dying people, which is nice. Then he was a social services director at Kairos Academy and a therapist at Utah Behavior Services. And now he's at good old Diamond Ranch. Stephen Beck, social worker, staff at Lava Heights Academy, Tokerville, Utah, crisis therapist, Switchpoint, St. George, Utah. Now he's at DRA. Then we have Andy McGinnis, equine specialist. No information at all about him. And then Cheyenne Stratton, she's a small animal care specialist. And we're going to wrap this up for now. Therapists are required to meet continuing education and training requirements to maintain their licenses and level of expertise. Doctorate and master's degree therapists, licensed in the state of Utah, case managers, substance abuse disorder counselors, and something called EGALA, certified equine specialist. I didn't see I didn't see the animal thing. They didn't note that they were certified, so if they are, they should note that. I don't think they should be talking about equine therapy if the people that are running that program aren't certified. So
no.
Yeah, so the next topic we're going to get to will be the schooling portion.
This has been the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for Part 6, Academics. And as always, thanks for watching. This is the V2V Podcast with Marcus Parrish and Alexei Lindes, Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy, Academics, Administrative Staff.
It's totally appropriate because we're talking about Diamond Ranch Academy school program, and the first thing I'm going to read is what they say their school program is. And excuse me, what it says is DRA students enjoy a normal, safe, structured high school experience without the negatives associated with public schools. Our intimate setting provides considerably more opportunities for our students. They play football on Friday nights underneath the lights. They play basketball during the week. They play soccer. They are part of the cheer squad and student council. They show off their latest oil paintings and compete in art shows. They perform on stage. They work with animals. They participate in hiking, speech and debate, woodworking, music, 4-H, and other clubs. They receive personalized attention in a structured setting where the treatment can take place.
I don't think any of these activities are sort of like voluntary. I think you are forced to do these activities. I think that's part of the program. And I think that, you know, for them to be like calling themselves a normal, safe, structured high school is quite a stretch, considering their history and their past and what we know about them and what's going on.
We know enough to be questioning about how real this is, and soon we're going to be talking to people who've gone there and reading some testimonials about the environment. So the reason I wanted to read their statement is to provide a way to contrast the reality from what they're trying to present as who they are. Again, I guess it should be said that we're not endorsing or advocating Diamond Ranch Academy by reading their propaganda, right? What we're doing is presenting their side so that it can be shown to be
fraudulent.
Well, right, to show how true or untrue it is based on, reality.
Yeah.
So next we're going to get into like who runs the school, the administrative staff and program staff, and some of these names are going to be familiar because there's several people who seem to be in more than one place or have more than one position at the same time. And again, as we wrap all this up, all these names, once we're done with this, we can go back and look in further detail about how that could actually, one, be possible, and more along the lines of like what they're actually doing there, and hopefully we'll get some people who know these people and their work and can talk about what really goes on, rather than just taking their word for it, taking Diamond Ranch Academy's word for it.
Right.
So the first guy we're going to talk about is named Cody Wardle, and he's listed as a coach. So Coach Wardle is not a licensed mental health nor medical professional in Utah.
Mm.
He has a Bachelor's of Science, emphasis in business management, and he's a certified first aid instructor, and then something called a certified PCS instructor. And I looked that up, and there's no such thing as a certified PCS instructor. It's not a thing. Like, it doesn't exist. So that's curious.
Right.
Like, he's throwing out these initials that don't really mean anything. Like, I could say I'm a certified PCS instructor, and it sounds pretty great. But It doesn't mean anything. In fact, are you a certified PCS instructor?
Sure.
His work experience consists of, it looks like, entirely working at the facility. He started as a line staff or work staff, O&A staff, head staff, assistant program director, and now this guy, Cody Wardle, is actually the director of operations for the entire program.
Wow.
So he's the big boss, and it's important to remember that what these people are representing themselves to be are, one, a school, two, they're offering therapy, drug addiction, rehab, and as impressive as a Bachelor's of Science with an emphasis in business management might be to some people, it really doesn't make you a good therapeutic boarding school director of operations. I can't understand how somebody with that background run this place. And I guess it's because he's a coach, but he doesn't even have any coaching experience. It's all it's all entirely in working at this school without any kind of background in physical education either.
Mm.
So there's a big red flag. So then we have Shara Carter, and she's the human resource director. She has no educational background listed, so that's curious. Dane Burton, he has a Master's of Science in Accounting, and a Bachelor's of Science in Recreation Management and Youth Leadership from BYU. He's certified in first aid and something called AEGIS intervention, AEGIS intervention. Maybe we can take a look at what that is. AEGIS intervention is workplace violence de-escalation techniques. It's almost like that's supposed to be some kind of replacement for I guess a real education, because this guy's an accountant. Dane Burton, he started out as an assistant program director, became a program director, and now he's the director of finance at Diamond Ranch. So he's their accounting guy. But He didn't start out as director of finance. He started out as an assistant program director, which is also really curious. Why wouldn't he just immediately go into being the numbers guy? I guess they had to get him into the program as well, in a sense.
Yeah.
So next we have, now these people are all in one class. They're called parent communications directors.
Okay.
I think these people are the kind of like the sales staff.
Right.
Right. So then we've got Marcel Harkey. Marcel has a bachelor's in sociology, emphasis on human communication. He or she, I'm not sure, started out as a youth development counselor, lead youth development counselor, assistant program director, and then parent communications director, all at the school.
Another career.
Maury Simons. And Simons is not a licensed medical health or medical professional in Utah, and neither are these other people. That's something to remember too, that a lot of these people are brand new, and even the ones that do have the right kind of background are new as well, are newly certified, newly licensed. So Maury Simons is mostly based in real estate. She's a dance instructor, a house parent at some place called the Family Support Center. Did some work at a restaurant. No educational background. And then we have Thomas Timoteo as a parent communications director without any kind of information about what he's been up to. Trevor Thompson, listed as parent communications director / conditioning and fitness trainer. Had 3 years on an athletic scholarship for baseball at the College of Eastern Utah. He has an associate's degree. His experience started out as something called the unemployment group leader at Diamond Ranch Academy. Then he became a staff supervisor, and now he's a youth development counselor. And every time I see this word counselor, it kind of gets to me, because he is in no way, he's not a counselor. He doesn't have a counseling degree. Spent 3 years in college on baseball scholarship and didn't graduate.
Wow.
Yeah. So, fail. Big fail.
Yeah, I feel like that's a real, that's something you need to, go to school for and be licensed to say that you are.
Sure. And even the other part with the conditioning and fitness trainer part. Yeah. I would think that he would be a licensed trainer, because that's also a thing. You can't just go into LA Fitness or some gym and say, "Hey, I want to be a conditioning and fitness trainer. Sign me up." And they're like, "Okay, cool. What's your background? Have you learned how to do that?" "Yes, here's my certificate right here." And they're like, "Yes, we'll sign you up, sir." But he has nothing like that. So even in the details where you're talking about, the kids' physical education,
Yeah.
you really want, like the one lady, she was a PE coach, or she got a degree in physical fitness. Like,
Yeah.
why isn't she the one doing this? She
Right.
has the background. Right. Next is Tyler Wright. He is also a parent communications director, and he studied at Dixie State University. He graduated from Hurricane High School, and he states that he's bilingual in English and Spanish, and his work experience involves, he was a Utah Regional Sales Manager for Fire Pro LLC, whatever that is, owner of Green Monkey Pest and Lawn, and then he became something called the Refocus Initiative Group Leader at Diamond Ranch Academy.
Wow.
Youth Development Counselor, Assistant Program Director, Stone Ridge and Girls Campus at Diamond Ranch Academy, and Program Director at Stone Ridge Sandstone Diamond Ranch Academy. Those are some of the names of the different areas, different programs based on age at the school. So I think Tyler's a guy.
Okay.
I mean, there could be a female named Tyler, I suppose, but
Sure.
I don't know why he'd be the assistant program director on the girls' campus when there seems to be plenty of women who work here. He doesn't have a degree. He studied at the university. He does have a high school diploma, though, so
Right.
there's that. Okay, so those are the I see, and that's why I think it's a sales thing, because a lot of these people, they don't really have backgrounds that would tell me that they're anything but they also have these other really unusual high-level titles too. So what are they, the question is, what are they really doing there?
Yeah.
And the next topic is programming. This has been an episode of the V2V Podcast Survivor Series with Marcus Parrish and Alexei Lindes, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for Part 7, Academics, Programming. And as always, thanks for watching. This is the V2V Podcast Survivor Series with Marcus Parrish and Alexei Lindes, Diamond Ranch Academy, Academics, Program Staff.
The first person that we're looking at in the programming section is a guy named Mac Brown, Program Manager. And we have no information about him, but we kind of do, because the next person on the list is a young woman by the name of Ashley Brown, the wife of Mac Brown, and also the mom of Riken and Rogue. She wanted to make sure that we knew that she had two kids named Riken and Rogue.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a program manager
Lovely.
and also the cheer coach. She's a cheerleader.
Oh, man.
So Ashley Brown, program director. She is not a licensed mental health or medical professional. Go figure. Her education, she's a certified professional life coach.
Okay.
I don't know where you become a certified professional life
Professional life coach. That's very strange.
do you even need a certification to become a life coach, or can you just say that you're a life coach?
Yeah.
I think you can just say it.
Yeah.
She studied at Snow College on a dance scholarship.
Uh-huh.
High school graduate. She has, it just says she has training as an EMT/B certification. So that might be a little bit of a tricky thing. I don't think she's an emergency medical technician. but maybe she took a look at some of the coursework in a brochure, perhaps.
Mm.
Because if I was an EMT, I would say yes. I'm a professional fire and rescue person. I would say it. I wouldn't say I had training in the area, because that really doesn't matter. I've had training as a doctor, but I'm not a doctor. But I did look at the brochure. Ashley, with her dance scholarship education, she's been a program manager, program director, parent communications director, a clinical assistant, observation and assessment staff, youth development counselor, all those things. And she also has a little statement. I have worked in the industry since 2010 and became a certified professional life coach in 2016. I am forever grateful for the Diaz family and the positive impact Diamond Ranch has had on my relationships and my life. There's something wrong with this, very wrong with this picture of Ashley Brown here. She seems really, really unqualified to do anything of the kinds of job titles that she has. Maybe except for the cheerleading part. Next on the list is Jace Jones. And Jace Jones is the assistant evening director. He is not a licensed mental health or medical professional in Utah. He is also listed as program director / coach. And his education is that he is currently pursuing a computer information technology degree at the local community college. He has a high school diploma. He's also apparently certified PCS. And I think that's like a CNA, certified nurse's assistant. And he's also certified in first aid. Jace started working at Diamond Ranch Academy in late 2011 and was hired on as a weekend youth development counselor. He applied just as a job while attending college. I worked for a few months and with every intention of moving away from DRA. Once I had completed my associate's degree, as the months went by, I began to see changes in many of the youth that attended DRA and found myself curious as to what was exactly helping the youth. So he was working there and he saw kids changing and then became curious as to what exactly was helping them.
Yeah.
That's weird. If you're there, working there, why would it be a mystery to you what's helping them? If you're saying that they're being helped, why would you be so curious about it?
I mean, you
go ahead. Yeah.
When you visit a cult, sometimes you're curious about, the goings on. It's quite fascinating how you can see 400 kids walking in a line and being obedient and supposedly following a structure.
Well, right. It's this is one of those areas that we're going to get into a little deeper about appearances versus reality.
Yeah.
I can see that if someone was hired onto a place like this as a weekend part-time guy, and in it's a school. I don't know. You may not know a whole lot about the place, and suddenly you notice that everyone's standing in straight lines, and you're curious about it because your other experience with kids, and as a kid yourself, you weren't about that. There's a reason, and part of the reason they're maybe seemingly so obedient and quiet and nice or whatever the case is, there might be some very specific reasons why these kids are choosing to not act normal because of repercussions, or punishment. Punishment
even
that the school doesn't believe in. Mm-hmm.
I also want to mention that even the conversation going on and the talk coming out of the kid's mouth isn't normal. It's pro-program and it's under subject of duress. So if they said something wrong, or if they said something out of the norm of the program, then they would be punished. Yeah. Therefore, they can't actually talk. By the way, I just watched an Aegis training video, and it's fucking ridiculous. It's like military police intervention techniques for intelligence and military. There's a whole bunch of firing of guns and people doing hand-to-hand combat. I mean, how that would apply at all to this program and these kids is fucking ridiculous.
To the accountant, too. Right.
Even better,
It's the accountant who's got this training for some odd reason. He's going to protect the money, is what it is.
Yeah.
No one's getting near my money. So this guy, his statement continues. So he's really curious, and then immediately he says, "It's no mystery that there are some phenomenal people that work here at DRA, and every one of them contributes in helping these youth get back on track. I continue to work at DRA because I have seen so many youth come in lost, but leave with the tools they need to succeed and stay on track with their lives. The relationships I have built with students and staff alike have been pivotal in my personal development." So he's saying two totally different things. First, he's like, I stuck around because I was curious, and then immediately he explains why it's so great. So you can't be both of those things.
No.
So I think it sounds like you really drank the Kool-Aid. Why this guy who was pursuing a computer information technology degree would stick around as the assistant weekend director, the evening director, makes little sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you go to school to become a computer guy and then say, you know what, all that schooling, forget it. I'm gonna be like the nice evening whatever at the school, like the guy who comes in and says hello to everybody.
That to me sounds like brainwashing and cultism. It sounds like he saw something and he ditched his entire old life and his entire course of life for this program.
I mean, he's been there a while, too. He started in 2011, so he's going on, several years now. And started out as a youth development counselor. Again, what in the world is he developing? What is going on there? How is that even possible?
Yeah.
That anyone would call him that or give him a job that called that.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. No. Several other names here with little or no background information. Alex Garcia, Program Director. Rodney Meller, Program Director. Nick Contris, Program Director. McKay Lewis, Program Director. And then Brittany O'Mara, also a Program Director. And her education is that she graduated from high school, and she has child care certification in the state of Utah, meaning that she's a licensed babysitter, and her work experience consists of child care at Little Harvard Academy, which I think is the baby version of this stuff. It sounds like, just with the name alone.
Yeah.
Because people should be aware that there are baby and toddler versions of these programs as well.
Yes.
That's something that people don't even consider, but of course there are, because it's easier for a school like this to get elementary and toddlers and babies that just go through the whole track rather than try to pull kids from outside. So I guess the child care daycare at Little Harvard Academy sounds like one of those situations. Why would you call it child care an academy anyway?
I don't know. It's so bad. It's really disgusting. The pipeline. It's a direct pipeline.
Exactly. That could also be a reason why some of these places seemingly have less bad reviews than one might think, because many of the students who are there are totally conditioned to that environment anyway, so it's normal because that's all they've ever known.
Yeah.
It's when the kids come from outside, that's when things get shaken up a little bit, and you get some of the stuff that we're going to read later about how terrible it is. It's important to put that in context, where these different points of view are coming from. All right, so then we have Megan Reynolds, Program Director, no information, and then Jen Lewis, Program Director. She graduated from high school. She graduated as valedictorian from the Art Institute of Las Vegas with a bachelor's degree in advertising. And she's a 15-year member of the International Order of the Rainbow for Girls, which is a Masonic organization for girls.
Okay.
She was state president for the International Order of the Rainbow for Girls in Nevada. Special events coordinator, advertising specialist, brand marketing account executive, brand marketing account supervisor and trainer, program assistant, and now she works as a program director and volleyball coach. Again, just the weirdest backgrounds some of these people have that don't really seem to apply at all to what they're doing.
Huh.
All right. Next, Dallin Beard, Program Director, Kyle Jaycox, Program Director, William Hormel, Program Director, and William Hormel has an Associate's of Science in Business and Accounting. He's a resident manager at Switchpoint Community Resource Center, Program Assistant, Diamond Ranch Academy, RFI assistant, I don't know what RFI is, and then RFI director. Now he's, again, a program director. Anthony Van Orden, program director, and then Tyler Stevenson, program director. Like I said, all the people that I just say their title, there is no background information they provided, so we don't know what their backgrounds are. And there are a lot of them. I would imagine that there's not much worth mentioning. They don't really have much of an educational background or work experience background, or they're so new that they haven't updated the website. I just have to, say this again, that, this information that we're providing it's really to parents or potential students there. I mean, do you really want to spend $10,000 a month for up to a year to send your kid to this place that seems to have staff with very little appropriate background? You can even set aside like all the negative aspects that we've discussed already about the background and all these incidents, whether or not they provide a real education, which we'll kind of get into next, but just the background of the staff alone. If it's such a great place, why can't they actually attract staff that has appropriate backgrounds in education? Why are they hiring people with really substandard credentials? And it's interesting that they're kind of hiding in plain sight, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I doubt that many parents or potential students or people who are interested really dig that deep into these backgrounds. Because what you have to do on the website is you click on the heading, and then you have a list of names with pictures of people, and if you click on them, that pops up their title and background. And there's like 100 people. And who's gonna have the time to look at every person? You know who has time? I've got time.
We have time.
We have time. Like I said, this is really a free service for people to be able to really find out about this place and then other places like it, and then they can make some very important phone calls about like what are you guys doing with my kid, and get your kid out of there. I don't want to blame parents who've been deceived. Once parents have information, and they really know what's going on, like then I think they're obligated to take some action. But if they've been like deceived, got their kid into a situation they thought was going to be a good one, into the so-called premier boarding school, and then find out that that the people that are teaching and taking care of their child are like totally inadequate. Once they know that, then they become obligated to do something.
Correct.
Right. Parents, don't feel bad. Maybe you didn't know, but now that you're getting this information, you should probably take some action and remove your child from this situation for sure. The next thing is what are called the programs. Different age group schools or separate schools or programs within the academy. So the first one, they all have very nice names too.
You have been listening to the V2V Podcast Survivor Series with Marcus Parrish and Alexei Lindes, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for the next episode, Program, Curriculum. And as always, thanks for watching. This is the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy, Part 8, Academics Program Staff.
The next thing is we're talking about are what are called the programs, the different age group schools or separate schools or programs within the academy. So the first one is called Whisper Creek, and Whisper Creek is for girls aged 16 to 18. And this is information taken directly from, this is what they say they are doing. Girls 16 to 18, the program involves dealing with healthy relationships with family members, healthy relationships with the opposite sex, social skills and boundary setting, preparation for adulthood, contributing member of society, health and beauty, interviewing skills, appropriate social media, mindfulness. This is interesting. Distress tolerance. Let's let that sink in for a second. So, I've never heard that term before as a goal, that we're going to teach you how to be tolerant of distress. Emotional regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, and physical fitness.
And this is all done by non-licensed, non-trained staff who are doing some pseudoscience bullshit, clearly. Because that sounds pretty bad to me. That sounds like brainwashing.
It sure does. And I don't think we've gotten to the teachers yet. Like, where are the teachers? I don't think we've spoken about the actual teaching staff at this point. The only people that we've spoken about are the admissions staff and the therapeutic clinical staff, who actually I've been wondering about those people and how often they're really there, for one thing. Like, in a lot of cases, clinical staff, they'll come in once or twice a week into an office and do therapeutic work and then leave. They don't actually really work full time on campus, even though the state regulations state that the other unlicensed employees have to work with clinical staff on site at all times. So that's definitely something that we still need to kind of investigate what the actual situation is on campus at any given time. This program that's a lot, and it should be. It means a program that broad and far-reaching, I would think, would be handled by people trained in in the field, and licensed in whatever subject they're teaching, but we'll see. They utilize a specialized academic approach designed to create confident and capable students. Students enjoy the support and guidance of certified teachers in each classroom, and mastery learning requires that all students get an 80% or better on assignments and tests. So what they're saying is that you need to get like at least a B to pass, which is a really super high standard to try to reach. That's incredible. For a school to try to enforce 80% or better on assignments and tests it seems very unlikely, unless there's something else weird going on. Because how can you expect a troubled teen, or let's call them so-called troubled teens, and then be required to get 80% at the very least on all assignments? Like, that doesn't make sense
at all. And why should education be the primary focus if you have a so-called troubled teen? Shouldn't you just try to fix or help that troubled teen so that troubled teen can go home, not so that troubled teen can set up in school in this place? No.
They're running into this issue. We're running into this issue again about what exactly is Diamond Ranch Academy. Is it a school? Is it therapy? What is it? And
right.
So, but then it goes on to explain that it says it ensures that students are mastering content before moving on. But then it says because the curriculum is self-paced, students are able to progress faster in some subjects and take more time in others based on their individual needs. So all of a sudden, it's okay, we've got this strict curriculum that you need to get 80% on. Oh, but guess what? We're not even going to teach you. You're on your own. You're self-paced. That's not very rigorous. It goes on. This provides for increased accountability and ownership in the learning process. So if you're paying this much money to have your kid taught by who they say are really great instructors and teachers, but then you find out it's just self-paced and the student actually owns the entirety of the learning process, well, who's teaching them? Once they get out of the school and go back to another school or get into college, that's not self-paced. You have to complete your assignments on time or you're going to fail. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't apply to the real world conditions that actually occur. The public high school isn't self-paced.
And it also doesn't allow transition back to regular high school. It just allows the kid to stay stuck in this as the only education.
It actually, I think, purposefully prevents students from reintegrating into school outside of this environment, because they're going to come out with this idea that they can take more time on this subject and less time on that one and go at their own rate. But that's just not the way anything works out in the world. You don't get to decide, if you're working for somebody or if you're in a school environment, it's very rare that you can just say, oh, I'll finish that up later. What they say that this kind of system provides for, it's college and career readiness, diploma completion or transition to another secondary school, ACT/SAT testing, PSAT and ASVAB testing, college exploration and application, scholarship applications, career exploration, college course opportunities for students that have already finished their diploma, additional experiential learning activities, and something called the credit-driven economy, which I don't know what that's doing on the...
Well, right away I see Paul Schultz, the next revolution in our credit-driven economy.
Right, it's about I know what it means. It means that the United States is running on credit cards or something. exactly.
Right.
Don't worry, you can put Diamond Ranch Academy on your credit card. Okay, so then the next part of the program is their list of all the good things that they provide along the lines of therapy. Doctorate and master's degree therapists, licensed in the state of Utah, case managers, substance use disorder counselors, EGALA certified equine specialists, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, narrative therapy, crisis management, Narcotics/Alcoholics Anonymous, smart recovery, addiction, substance abuse counseling, experiential therapy, structural family therapy, solution-focused therapy, motivational interviewing, life skill training, trauma-based approaches, and art therapy. So what that sounds like to me is that someone just got a list of different therapies and threw it up on the website.
Agreed.
This is another one of those areas where it's going to be important to actually talk to people who've gone here. And
Yeah.
Right, so we can get some real feedback. Right, the idea is that, it's like we said at the beginning of this project, was to look at programs that are currently operating and allow them to speak for themselves. Here's who they say they are, like in every aspect. This is who they say they are. This is who works there. These are their qualifications. And then once we get all that, the idea is that the program can't really say no. They can't say, no, that's not who we are, because they've already said so. The next list is program wellness, which is just a list of sports activities. So,
Okay.
and even this is like, I want to eventually talk to people and say, is this really everything that was offered? Because it's a good list. Basketball, CrossFit, skating, Zumba, cheer, yoga, spin, swimming, volleyball, softball, dance, lacrosse, and tennis. This is the program for the older girls, 16 to 18. These are all the things that the Diamond Ranch Academy says they provide in this particular program. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff. And, okay, then we have 4 program directors who actually manage this girls program, and these are familiar names. Ashley Brown, she's a cheerleader, right? Then we have Brittany O'Mara, Jen Lewis, and Maury Simons. And that is that. There's a Crystal Springs for girls 12 to 15. The only thing that's different is in the program is healthy relationships with the opposite sex. The girls ages 12 to 15, they don't have that portion listed, right? As something that they're too young, right?
Right.
So other than that, it's the same thing. But then we have again Ashley Brown.
Well, basically, the girls' ages 13 to 15 are quarantined from the boys. They're not allowed any contact at all. So then all of a sudden you turn 16 and you're allowed to contact the boys. But it has to be in healthy ways, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I would think. Like that, or I mean, it's just not listed part of this program. They're not giving girls this age tools to form healthy relationships with the opposite sex. Not yet.
Right. Yeah.
So when we look at the Crystal Springs directors, Ashley Brown again is there, and also Maury Simons, and then Megan Reynolds. So there are 3 program directors, 2 of which are also program directors for the older girls too.
Right. Big job.
So so those are the only 2 programs for the girls. We have 2 age groups. Then we have boys, 12 to 13 years old sandstone, and football, basketball, baseball, track and field, cross country, cross fit, soccer, wrestling, skating, and golf. And then there are the program directors there. These are all names that we've read before. Anthony Van Orden, Dallin Beard, Jace Jones, Mac Brown, Tyler Stevenson, Kyler Wright, William Hormel. Then there's the Stone Ridge program, boys 14 to 15. Jace Jones, Mac Brown, Nick Contras, Rodney Meller, and Tyler Wright. Lava Falls, 16 to 17. This is worth reading. The Lava Falls program is designed for boys who are approaching adulthood in age, but who are often lagging behind emotionally. They desire independence, but are not necessarily prepared for the demands of the real world. Our innovative therapeutic approach is designed to prepare young men to successfully navigate the transition from boy to man. The program is uniquely designed to address your son's specific needs in an environment that allows him to connect with others his age who are struggling with similar issues. Academics. The little thing about the boys' academics says, the academic approach at Lava Falls is innovative and effective. Most 16 to 17-year-olds don't see the value in school. I would argue that. That seems to be a pretty broad statement. Most 16 to 17-year-olds don't see the value in school. I don't know about that. They desire instant gratification and struggle with linking their work in the classroom today with benefits in the future. Really? Like, I don't know about that one either. Like, these kids aren't retarded. No. I mean, they're not, right? Many students have not experienced academic success and don't see themselves going to college. Our self-paced, mastery-based educational model assists students in connecting with the dots between school and success in life. Your son will enjoy the ability to work at his own pace while still having access to certified teachers in every classroom. That's really telling. That statement right there. Your son will enjoy the ability to work at his own pace while still having access to certified teachers in every classroom. So what that's saying to me is that your son isn't being taught. Your son is being given assignments to do. And at some point, perhaps your son could make an appointment with a teacher for that or something like that. You know, I need access to my teacher.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the stuff you really have to kind of read between the lines because they're kind of telling you exactly what's wrong with them, even in their own statements.
Yeah.
Students must receive 80% or better on all tests and assignments, ensuring that they're mastering core content. And then it goes on to say that it's self-paced and it could take more or less time. Your son will leave DRA with academic confidence and amazing grades, having built a solid academic foundation. Well, no shit you're going to have amazing grades because you're going to have to take that test 3, 4, 5 times until you memorize the answers and you get every answer right, and then oh my gosh, you got 100%.
Yeah.
You know, look at this great grade this kid got.
This is extremely familiar to my education.
Yeah. Yes, that's so easily manufactured, these fantastic grades, because, you know, it's self-paced, and you're going to get failed if you don't meet up to that standard.
Right.
Meanwhile, you're not keeping pace with the kid who's going to regular school who got a C on the same subject, right? And took it and moved on. Meanwhile, the Diamond Ranch Academy kid is like a month behind because he's struggling to figure this stuff out on his own because the certified teacher isn't available. That's done sometimes too, where where they just have the students study for the test, and regardless of what they actually learned, they're like, okay, cool, you passed. Then we have Sage Canyon for boys 18 and older. Nothing really different here. Students who complete their senior year can graduate from DRA with a fully accredited high school diploma. You can also take a test and test out of the program directors here. Alex Garcia, Kyle Jaycox, Mac Brown, Marcel Harkey, McKay Lewis, Nick Contras, and Trevor Thompson. The program directors, again, are Alex Garcia, Mac Brown, McKay Lewis, Thomas Timoteo, Trevor Thompson. And the last part about the education by DRA says, our courses are aligned with Utah State core curriculum, ensuring students are on track to achieve competitive academic gains on a global level. Our focus on education includes low teacher-to-student ratios, giving your team personalized attention that allows teachers to best help them excel. Gender and age-specific classrooms, allowing students to learn in a relaxed and supportive atmosphere. A constantly evolving library. Special education tailored to students' individualized education plans. And our spacious classrooms and expert instructors help make school something Diamond Ranch Academy students look forward to, a meaningful experience that lasts once they leave campus. So they also claim to have fine and performing arts with nothing really, just says fine and performing arts. And that's really it. Like there's nothing really specific about their schooling or anything except these really broad pronouncements that this is what we do. The people who are apparently teaching the kids, but that's it for the educational stuff at Diamond Ranch Academy. And what's next? The medical staff, I think we'll take a look at another time.
This has been an episode of the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for Part 9, Academics and Medical Staff. And as always, thanks for watching.